Hello and welcome to 6.2 Lab 2. Go ahead and open up this file, the HTML file and the JS file in your editor. And let's just dive in. First, I want to show you the HTML file because there's not much to it, to be honest with you. We've been dealing with forms and stuff, but this time we're going to work with some array stuff. So here we just have our output div and our pre-tag and then just calling our lab62_2 function. So let me jump to that, and then we'll jump back to our specs and we'll talk about what we got to do to get this to work. So here we have a we're going to create an array, and so as you can see, all this data is an array. You don't have to retype it. You can copy this into there so you don't have to retype everything. And we're going to it's up to you how many variables you add. I'm going to show you what I do. You can maybe do it a little differently. That's fine. And we're going to add an HTML element in the output div to display the results. Okay, and so what we're going to do is we're going to create this array that's going to hold this information. I'm going to use a loop to go through, and we're going to find the word. There's one word in here that is 13 characters long. We're going to find that and output it along with its index where it's at in the array. And then we're also going to use another search loop and find the first word that has a length of 10 and display it. There's more than one of those, and we'll talk about how do we limit it to just the first one. Let me show you the output, what it's going to look like here. So we have the word functionality, 13 characters. It's at an index of 47, and the first time a word of 10 characters, JavaScript, is found at index of 10. So JavaScript right there, functionality right there. So let's jump into the code. So first thing I did was I created a global array. I called mine search array that I just put my array content in. Then here's how I built my application. So I have my output variable, which simply says go into my document, get my element with an ID of output div. Then I wanted to find the 13 character word. So I did a loop for that, and I went through my search array and said, okay, which one of my search arrays is equal to 13, the length of it. So I found each word, grabbed the length property, which told me how many characters it was, to see if it was 13 or not. When it found it, then I just used a compound operator to add it to my output variable of my search array is at an index of whatever I was at the time. Okay, that's how I got the functionality at index of 47. So it looped through 47 times before it found that index there. Then we go through here and we say, okay. I just did a break there just to create some space so it goes on the next line. That's all that does. Then I wanted to find the first one that has a length of 10. So I again looped through my array and said, okay, length property of my individual words, same thing, equal to 10. And then I outputted it just like I did before. But here's where the real key is this break. So if I take that out of there, and let me refresh my screen here. See how now it says JavaScript at an index of 10, subsequent at index of 14, JavaScript index. See, it found all of them that match 10, but the instructions were only find the first one. So what that break does is says, okay, when you're done, we talked about this when we went through loops in a previous lesson, but when you hit that, break out of it. So if my search array length is equal to 10, output it and then break out of, and that breaks out of my for loop completely. I could have done a return there, and return would have stopped my entire function. Either one works here because there's nothing. If I'd code after this, I did not want to run. If I found that 10, that's when I'd use the return here. In this case, there's nothing after it, so I'm just breaking out of the loop here, and then it just runs that last little curly brace line for processing, and it works that way. So it depends on where you're at in your logic and stuff, whether you want to use break or return for your function or breaking out of your loop. So I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know, and happy coding.